Hello, everyone, from wherever you're watching all across the world. Welcome to Nigeria Decides live studio of independent television and radio this beautiful Saturday, the 18th day of March 2023. Of course, all expectations are very high in the build up to today, talking about the state governorship and state houses of assembly elections. You recall that this election was actually postponed by a week by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, over some issues that came up. Some litigations were carried out, and eventually INEC prevailed to have time to reconfigure Beavers. Once that was done, the next thing we heard was that the election has been shifted by a week. On the part of INEC, this was done specifically to create more time to prepare adequately for the governorship and state houses of assembly election. I mean, a whole lot of issues came forth from the last election on the 25th of February, talking about the presidential and national assembly election. The presidential election has since been won and lost, and the next stage will be the courts, perhaps up to the Supreme Court. And then the National Assembly elections are not done with, because we understand some elections will take place today, about 35 of them altogether at the Senate and the House of Representatives. So we're looking forward to how all of that will pan out. But most importantly, the key focus of today's election is the state governorship election and state houses of assembly election. By the way, my name is Sonny Duke Okos. My co-anchor, Philip Omogukmo, is as usual here with me for the live coverage of the 2023 general election, the concluding part, as it were. Philip, good morning and welcome on board.
Good morning, Sonny Duke, and good morning, viewers. It's an election like no other.
Yeah.
We've had a presidential election February 25, and
Yes.
the spring of surprises that it came with. And Nigerians could be ready for the spring of surprises for today. We have about 10,240 candidates that are going for the state assembly elections. And of course, we have about 837 governorship candidates for the governorship elections panning through 28 states.
Yeah.
And we have about 11 of some of these governors, that will be coming back for a second term.
Yeah, 10 of them actually.
Yeah, so they are coming back to make sure that they stamp their feet,
Yes,
and ensure that they win elections. But what is going to transpire? Are we going to have what transpired in the February 25 election? A situation where, some of the candidates that thought they would be coming through couldn't pan out? Or would there be a bandwagon effect? Because we look at the governors of the APC who are already gearing towards believing that there's going to be a bandwagon effect for the fact that they had the presidential candidate in Tinubu that's now the president-elect winning that election. They expect that voters will churn out, and also in that number, identify with the center by ensuring that the APC governors pull through. But are we going to get the otherwise?
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's going to be a tight election.
It's a very tight election, a very interesting one at that, because in the presidential and National Assembly election, there were a lot of upsets from the way the electorate voted in states. We saw the APC, for example, winning in states dominated by the PDP. We also saw the PDP winning in states even governed by the APC. And then, of course, we also had Labour Party dominating in some states where people never gave them a chance. And then we saw NNPP taking a hold of one state. Yes, it was a complete and overwhelming victory for that party in Kano, as it were. So, today's election presents another opportunity for us to see how the electorates are responding to the state of affairs in the country, and how political parties and their candidates, they are able to maneuver, conscientize, mobilize, and of course, sell their messages to the electorate. And only time will tell.
Yes. As we also look at the elections that will be popping up just now.
Yeah.
There's need to also look in the direction of how the voters are going to turn out.
Yeah.
We look at the lessons learned in the February 25 presidential and National Assembly elections, the voter intimidation, voter suppression, could that also bring about a negative trend, having voter apathy? Mostly we look at state like Lagos State, for instance, where there seems to be talking along ethnic grounds.
Ethnic grounds,
it's a religious
threats
ground.
of intimidation and all of that.
How are we going to get the numbers? How is that going to count? All this will also form basis for which those parties who are already in the court, for litigations over the presidential race. The election today will also determine, because they, as alleged, believe that the results of the presidential election
didn't reflect,
were tinkered with.
Didn't reflect the aspirations of the people.
And so the way the voters will turn out could also be a basis for them to take to court and also, agitate over the election results of the February 25 that they think was tinkered with.
Fantastic.
Many things will play out. And my mind is going to Rivers State. We knew what a Rivers State governor did some weekend, just because he wanted to make a statement against the presidential candidate of his party, Atiku Abubakar. But he has been campaigning for the PDP governorship candidate. And so will there be a different twist? Well, because the voters turned out to vote for the APC, and it's expected that you should be able to work on the minds of
the governorship,
the Rivers State people.
The governorship and the State House of Assembly election is a different kettle of fish altogether. The reasons are not far-fetched. I mean, the reasons are not far-fetched because if you have the governor in place, you have a State House of Assembly that is not collaborative, that is not supportive, the governor will be in a serious problem. We've had that in the past. I think somewhere around 2006, where a state governor was impeached and his deputy took over. That's even the first time a woman will be a governor, Virgie Tabia, and that was in Anambra State in 2006, and she only held sway for about 3 months. And that also brings forth the issue about women participation in politics. About 24 women are vying for governorship position in this election. How far they will go is a matter of time. In fact, in one of the states, the ruling party has a woman as their governorship candidate. That's very fundamental. And then we can look at other states where they also have various political parties have women contesting. So I'm sure, I'll be confident to say that we've never really had it so good for women.
Yes, of course.
Massively participating in election in such a way and manner that we have political parties throwing them up to be able to have the opportunity to lead the state. But the point I was trying to make is that the governorship and State House of Assembly election is closer to the people. And that's the uniqueness and the peculiarity of the election. That's why you've seen that state governors, they've been about trying to ensure that they consolidate their campaigns.
Yes, of course.
They sell their message, and all, even though in some cases they are not really contesting the election, but they also know that their survival, to a large extent, depends on the outcome of the State Houses of Assembly election. So today, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
It stops the topic.
Yes, and see how
the numbers will also come out.
How it will come out. Yes,
we have about 17 governors that are departing from offices.
18 governors are departing.
18.
Yes, and then
we
10,
have 10 that are still contesting.
That are seeking for a rerun. The interesting thing is that in some of these states, either as a departing governor or as a returning governor, let's put it that way, many of them lost grounds. Some of them attempted to go for the National Assembly, particularly the Senate.
About 7.
They lost woefully and comprehensively.
Yes.
Woefully and comprehensively. So that's a pointer to some of the things that could happen in this governorship and State Houses of Assembly election. So if, for example, you are a returning governor at the presidential election, you performed woefully and comprehensively, it's a big challenge for you. If, as an outgoing governor, you made an attempt to go to the National Assembly, you failed woefully and comprehensively, is a big challenge.
big
But
challenge.
I think that in the last few days would have given them the opportunity to dot the I's across the T's in looking at how they can salvage the situation for themselves and for their political parties.
Yeah.
And some states, like we've identified, are really flashpoints in this election. You mentioned Lagos State. You also mentioned Rivers State. Even our own Edo State, is also a flashpoint.
Yes.
Delta State is there. And so because of the way the presidential and national assembly elections went, it's going to have, you know, an influence, an impact on today's election, whether on the positive or on the negative. But I'm optimistic that it will be on the positive, particularly for security. I mean, driving here was quite interesting to see how security people are on the ground. The police, with the primary responsibility of maintaining law and order, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and even the Army, very civil in their disposition to people. They engage you, where are you going? And some will explain to themselves, explain to them, okay, we're going to our voting center, they let you go. But the level of security, availability of security personnel, using Benin City as a case study, is far better than what we experienced on the 25th of February.
But in as much as we can say that's quite a wonderful start, but don't forget the end, they say, sometimes justifies the means.
Yes, you know.
We want to see how this security or law enforcement agents
you know,
will be able to arrest any anomaly that could occur.
When we have
because one thing is sure, we have this challenge in the presidential
the way it is like
it shouldn't repeat itself.
In the presidential election, it was a very loose system.
Of course it was.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see any. If you're driving on this Ubo axis today, from Ring Road, from Sapler Road, I saw over 10 checkpoints. All right. In the presidential and national assembly election on the 25th, I didn't see any. I drove all the way from Sapler Road down to Lukun. I didn't see any, not one.
So that's an improvement.
Yes, it's serious improvement. But just like you said, whether that will better the conduct of the election
or militarize votes.
Yes, you know, it's a different kettle of fish. But all of that, I
think we have to look at all that.
All of that will form part of our conversation on the program as we make progress. But basically, what we have seen so far is that
encouraging.
There is heavy presence of security people on the ground, and that should encourage people to come out. That those who have the intention of carrying out some dastardly acts, ballot box snatching, and all of those untoward activities, they will be checked. We hope so.
Yes.
By the security agents.
A wonderful look into another issue is the aspect of the glitches by INEC in the presidential and national assembly elections. INEC, as an electoral umpire, has promised that they're going to improve on this and ensure that the technologies and the Beavers machines and, of course, the IRF are deployed.
Yes.
We hope to see that too.
Yeah, we hope to see that.
Nigerians were served, most Nigerians were served breakfast.
Yeah.
February 25.
Absolutely.
Will they be given another breakfast today?
Okay, only time will tell, but we hope for the best as far as today's election is concerned. On my way here, saw a lot of people going to their voting centers. Those who have cars would naturally bring out their voter's card, their PVC, to indicate that, look, I'm going to my voting centers, and security agents will let them go, let them pass. If you look at some of the voting centers on this axis, pocket of people are gathering, you know, just to come exercise their franchise. So we expect the best, but we'll take a short break, and then we'll get started with our conversation today on Nigerian Decides, a special focus on the state governorship and houses of assembly election. As is always the case, we'll have specific numbers we'll be deploying, so you can also participate on the program, letting us know what's happening in your area. But as we've done before, we have all our crews and our teams on the ground across the Federation to help you make sense of how the election is going. In Lagos, in Kaduna State, in Adamawa, in Ogun State, in Edo State, as always, in Delta State, name it. We've got our crew, our teams on the ground to help us with up-to-the-minute account of how the election is going. So we'll be helping you to update yourself, update you as the election is making progress. Once again, we thank you for joining us. We'll take a short break, and then we'll bring our first set of guests on board the show. Stay with us.
On the field, we just be transmitting the way people are voting. Eligible voters are voting. To be transmitting it straight to INEC office or whatever collation center.
INEC portal.
INEC portal. But no, that provision is not there. It's not there. I wish, normally I always like research. I thought before now, if I ask you now, I say, okay, Sonny Duke, did we make any attempt to see if we can get one Beavers and look at it between there and now? Because even if you have asked, you may not be given that opportunity to look at that system. Okay. So that you look at it and know the provision. But what I did was to ask Google, because that thing is produced by a company. Okay. So it's not hidden. Somebody has the patent right. So I asked Google, I say, what does a Beavers machine do? If you key into your Google at any time, you see it. The provisions are there. It snaps. What do you snap? Is what has been prepared that you snap. So I want everybody, so that by today, as voters are going out, they don't get discouraged when they don't see what they are expecting in terms of automatic transmission. It's not possible. Okay. It's not possible because even if you look at developed countries that we are copying the system from, American, UK, and all of them has not even done that. They've not achieved it.
They've achieved it to an extent.
No,
because they do electronic voting.
If
yes, where you register or you vote electronically
online.
The result goes to a portal, a collation center online.
Good.
Yes.
But let me tell you that what we are made to understand is quite different, even from that electronic.
Okay, let me just.
It's different.
Let me just pin this on you. Probably you can respond to it. We have on good authority that Beavers was actually homemade by INEC. And based on that, INEC chairman, that was in November 2022, last year, told the whole world that this was the major feature of Beavers, to transmit election results and electronically to the portal. And he was even saying at the time that he came out to make this clarification because there was a news report or there was a media report or a story that INEC had jettisoned the idea of transmitting election results electronically. First, that it was homemade, and the man who designed Beavers was the head of the ICT at INEC headquarters. So this was homemade, which means this was a local innovation to take care of some of the major peculiarity problems that we have with our electoral process. Because over the years, like we identified, even while we're here in the studio, talking about the presidential election and all the issues that usually comes with it, is the fact that from the unit to the ward to the LGA Collation Center to the state and all of that, you have movement of election results from one place to another.
Yes.
To cure that problem, it was better to have a system where election takes place, you snap the result like you said, and you send. You send. It's not like you're going to be, as people are voting, the Beavers. I don't know if the Beaver has those features, but at least if you have the result conducted, the result sheet, you snap it, and then you send. I believe that the point you send, there'll be people at the INEC ICT room who will be collating these things and then placing them the way they're supposed to be. This was what INEC told us they were going to do, but they never did that. How come it was effective and efficient in the National Assembly election, but when it got to the presidential election, that's where the problem started? This is where the doubt started coming in, Prof.
Let me disagree with you.
Okay.
If you say it worked in National Assembly election, what did it do different that makes you feel that the Beavers
in the National Assembly election,
in National Assembly election,
in the National Assembly election,
presidential election,
results were snapped and sent.
Exactly, and it went.
And it went. Yes. But at the presidential election, we were told that the server packed up. There was a technical problem, and so they couldn't send.
Yes.
I mean, the electoral officials who were on the field, who were on the ground, conducted this election, came to tell us that. Are we supposed to doubt them? No, Prof, I like to get your take. Are we supposed to doubt them?
We are looking at the situation, and we are like a native doctor inside his shrine, trying to focus from the blues what has happened somewhere
We're not
else.
forecasting. We're making
Or
analysis
try
based
to-
on what INEC said with their own mouth. They
But
said
this, but if you look at events that have unfolded,
Yes.
even the same INEC has said that that thing could not transmit.
yes,
You agree with me?
that there was a technical problem.
That there was a technical problem.
Yes.
And when you start asking questions, that technical problem, what actually was the technical problem that was envisaged?
So it's left for INEC to tell us.
It's left for them to now tell us
Yes.
what was the technical problem.
Yes.
Was it network? And if it was network, which network did they implement?
Yes.
Or did they use? Is it, I mentioned it during that election here, is it Glo? Is it MTN? Is it Airtel? Which network did they use
Yes.
that now had issues? And why was there no provisions for alternative measures to now transmit
That's manual.
that result?
The alternative measure is
Which now boils down to the manual,
yes.
which was what has actually been prepared to go.
now, there's-
You may disagree with me,
Yes.
but I'm looking at it from that functionality aspect of that Beavers, that it did not have that provision. Okay, now
So are you
we
saying?
have said
Are you saying that
Yes.
INEC fooled Nigerians into
Ah.
believing that?
there is a lot to be understood in that Beavers machine.
Okay.
There are a lot of information that people are not getting. That me, I will want them to come out openly after the election. Let's make a research and get one of those Beavers
Okay,
and
now
find out
yes,
what and
yes.
what it can
Because,
do.
Okay, now, Prof, before you come, just
Okay.
maybe add this to it, because I think it was yesterday or so, the National Voter Education Officer also, one Mr. Okoye,
Yes.
said that no political parties has the right to tell INEC the mode of transmission of election result that they want to deploy. That INEC alone has the prerogative to decide which mode of transmission of election result to deploy. And I'm a bit curious and concerned by that kind of statement coming forth after a presidential and national assembly election are taking place, and there are serious question marks about the conduct of the election on the part of INEC. Maybe you can build on that, Prof.
Yes, it's most unfortunate. I say it's most unfortunate because in different fora, the national chairman of INEC made it very clear. Even if I can take us back to the National Assembly when they were debating this issue. Should votes be transmitted electronically? Is it possible? Or can they go back to the manual system? And he came out, Mahmoud came out, Professor Mahmoud came out and said, hey, it is very, very possible. And he was using the issue of Oshun, Anambra, and one other state, Ekiti State, as a case study, that he worked there, and he can also work in the presidential election. And that they are prepared, that they have all what it takes, to use the Beaver to correct the problem Nigerians have been experiencing in our national elections. And he continued every opportunity, he will re-emphasize it. Then the last one, I still remember when Federal Executive Council, assembled all those that have been involved in the election. And he was also asked, are you ready? Are you prepared? What did he tell Federal Executive Council members? He said, INEC are prepared for the election. Everything is in order. And when even some individuals took him up and said, hey, what about the Beaver? Are you going to transfer results electronically?
It was very emphatic.
Yes.
But we have one of our stories coming in. This is from Yola, Adamawa State Capital. Dominic is giving us live feeds from Adamawa State, Yola to be specific. And we can see that security is in top gear. Security agents are on the ground to ensure that this election goes on smoothly. Well, there's a pocket of movement here and there with the Kekena people probably going to their various polling centers. I'm particularly thrilled that there's this organized search of vehicles to ensure that those who are passing, they're actually going to cast their votes and they are not agents of destruction. This is reflective of what we also experienced this morning in Benin City, where security agents, both the army, the police, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps officials actually doing the job very, very well. I mean, I got stopped at almost about 5 checkpoints. Once I was able to identify myself and move on. But you know, some Nigerians will always want to be Nigerians, and they were just kept there because you don't have an identification, means of identification, you don't have your voter's card with you, then stay at home. That's the instruction given. If you don't stay at home, then of course you will face the music like some did. I actually saw a lady who was pleading and begging the security agents, the sister khaki. I wouldn't know where she was coming from or where she was going, but the fact remains, if you don't have your PVC, you're not going to vote. Stay at home. That's the order given by the IGP. So, Chairman, news from Adamawa, Yola to be specific. We hope it stays that way. We also have from Lagos, security agents are at alert, and they're doing their job to ensure that people are adequately checked and ensure that people are actually out there to go and cast their vote and not to do anything untoward. So we hope this story pervades the entire length and breadth of the country as far as the election is concerned. Prof, yeah.
Yes, as I said, so Mahmoud has given assurance in different fora to Nigerians that the Beavers machine is going to work. It doesn't necessarily mean that the moment you vote, the result will go electronically into INEC portal. No. He said I would say semi-electronic.
Yes.
Semi-electronic. Yes. I would call it semi-electronic. Wherever you snap
and send.
The result from the unit
yes.
and send.
Okay.
And even if it's semi-electronic, there's some element of credibility there. Because when you snap and send, and before that is done, the various agents of who are representing the candidates or parties will also countersign that was the result. So that result becomes authentic. And the moment it goes to INEC portal, it is also remain fresh in terms of being authentic. So I don't see any big deal about it. You know, so for us to say how it was configured and all that, I think it's a basic technology which people were trained, you know, to be able to adopt during election day. So once the result gets to the portal, then that's it. Which means in terms of any argument or controversy, whether those figures were right or not, you know, it's very easy. The court will just say, INEC, download what you have in the portal. Okay. And that's it. It will be used as a basis for determining whether the figures are produced were genuine or not. And political parties, like I know PDP and APC, they also have their situation room, whereby...
To monitor the elections.
Yes, to also monitor the election. So at the end of the day, we're going to have a semblance of what is supposed to be an authentic election.
Okay.
But the issue we had at the end of the day was that the election was, you know, they now started putting figures, doing it manually.
Okay, let's just link up quickly with Dominic ITV Abuja, who is joining us live from Yola in Adamawa State. Dominic, take it away, please.
Good morning, studio. I'm reaching you from Adamawa State, precisely Yola, the capital of Adamawa. Yes, all is set for the commencement of governorship and state assemblies election here in the Sunshine City of Adamawa. Well, Yola is peaceful, like you can see behind me, the armored personnel carrier there, ensuring that it is safe in the conduct of the election. Although movements are still being observed in this because the restrictions for movements are really not commenced because the election is commenced by 8 as we are told from this side. But let me give you a breakdown of what to expect. Total numbers of polling units in Adamawa State is about 4,104 cut across 226 wards in 15 local government areas. 25 members of House of Assemblies will be contesting for seats in the State House of Assembly. We have about 15 governorship candidates for this election. Well, we'll be bringing you details as we move around to see when the elections will commence because we've not cited arrivals of any material as it stands now. Officials of various security personnel are only patrolling to ensure that there is peaceful conduct of the election.